You see both feature phone and smartphone opportunities. So, from a pure business standpoint, it's interesting. But I think increasingly we're seeing that this can be a region that drives trends. And trends not only applicable here, but that could be applied elsewhere. So, also from a learning standpoint, there's high interest. But the highest rates of growth are here, particularly for the lowest end of our portfolio. This is where the action is.
Africa is a real driver for us also in services. Since PC penetration in Africa is generally lower than in other parts of the world, most of you guys are accessing the internet the first time over the mobile phone. And for us, it's basically a real challenge to make that experience a really great experience, because this will allow you basically to explore the world, discover what's around you, and have access to all the information which is out there. And this is much more difficult on a lower-end phone, actually, at the end of the day, than on a high-end smartphone, which has all the capabilities available. So that's why, from a services point of view, it's a really interesting challenge to satisfy consumer needs, especially in Africa and other fast-developing markets.
My name is John. I'm the founder of a startup called Web.com, and I'm happy to say we have 2 new applications on the Ovi store.
Great.
One published today. The challenge that I foresee us facing is that when our applications are downloaded a lot, there's still no way for us to monetize that on the Nokia billing platform. So what plans are there for Nokia to provide local payment systems, such as M-Pesa, and those billing systems? And is it possible for us to integrate with Nokia in a way that we can be able to detect which phone customers are using, because that is also not available at the moment. Thank you.
First of all, obviously, we want to allow developers to monetize either through advertising or through paid transactions, and basically make sure that the consumer has an easy way to purchase or make a transaction. And you were alluding to M-Pesa as a payment system. And obviously, we are also driving hard to integrate with operator billing systems, because that is much more convenient for consumers, because they have already basically an account with the operator, and it's much easier to make a transaction. So all these efforts are ongoing, and in some countries we have already really good coverage, but there's a lot of drive, especially from our EMEA team, and Alessandro can certainly comment on it, to have a full coverage across the continent.
So, and then you were asking about the analytics that we offer through developers. So we made an acquisition not too long ago, because we clearly had identified the need to offer analytics. Part of that is, when does your application get launched? How many times does it get launched? Who's using, what phone, what models, and so forth. And we're providing some rudimentary information on that, but clearly it's an area where we've been working and adding more. Also, then there's a challenge in terms of the cost that occurs to the consumers. The more data you collect, the more the consumer then is unaware of transactions that happen. So it's a tricky problem, and that's why we started from the higher range of the devices where typically data plans are in place. But the intent is to trickle that down, then more and more people have data plans.
Hi, my name is Helena Salim from Prickelt Foundation. We basically develop solutions on mobile that provide help, education, socio-economic empowerment, child protection, and democracy, amongst others. Having worked with the organization, there is so much that can be done in terms of social impact and the information that can be delivered via mobile to the most marginalized communities. The biggest challenge remains how to zero-rate the service to reach, for example, maternal mothers who are expecting and they can't get access to medical facilities to support all these elements. We have the democracy components, which can work as citizen scorecard, holding politicians accountable for the resources that are being used. And how then do you facilitate all this population to access the data? The question to Nokia is, do you partner up with mobile providers or solution providers, people like Safaricom? And how do you leverage to make sure they, on the foundation side of things, they reduce the cost so that you can have a higher social impact?
If we are partnering, yes, we are partnering with them. And I think it's also a matter of, it's not only a matter of partnering with of course the zero rating is important, but also creating the awareness about this it's even more important. So it's an overall ecosystem with the government, with the institutions, with third parties as well. So the answer is yes, we are discussing with them a lot. And there is a clear trend now in reducing the rates. Probably in some cases there could be also the option of zero rating if we can make this happen. We have specific people just working on this at the moment, just contacting them, discussing with them, making plan. And I think this goes very well with what we were saying before. I think the reason why we are here today is not only because, answer to your question in that sense, but also we are here because we believe that we need to develop this kind of leadership in you. So we need to develop this kind of talents and with these labs where people can do that and create a much more awareness. And I think Kennedy want to add something to this.
Yeah, I wanted to add, that's an interesting question. So actually this week, we've partnered with Safaricom and we've zero-rated firmware over the air. What does this mean? You've got a Nokia phone and you want to update the software and it costs you money, but Safaricom realizes that there's a better consumer experience if this is zero-rated. So I think tomorrow you're going to see the ad going up where that is a trial. We started with firmware, meaning we're giving this back to consumers. So nothing stops us as Nokia to engage with the operators for the common good of society, and all of you knowing what, say, Bob Collum has been driving with the Kenyans for Kenya. I think this is the next step, and I'd be very glad to drive that. So we've started, and there is that opportunity, and this is breaking out tomorrow. Okay.
My name is Mushiri. I'm a partner at Semacraft Consulting Partners. We are essentially a user-centered design consulting company. So we look at bringing the consumer's voice into the organization. So it's not just about the product development, but also about business model innovation. And my question, kind of ties in a bit with what Eric asked about how serious Nokia is taking Africa. Can you tell us, Wabi, if you're able to, how African consumer voices are influencing Nokia's story in emerging markets?
For me, it's about listening and coming to the markets. We do quite a lot of trials. We do consumer insights. We, of course, tap into the local organizations that are here. And I also want to say that at the global level, I've got a small team, but I've got 4 people that I've just recently hired from the market, who will bring the voice of the market right into product creation. So there's many ways, you trial, you listen, you partner with you guys. We have a research center also here in Kenya, employing 6 people, 2 people.
Life Tools in Nigeria.
We have Life Tools in Nigeria, which is doing well, and maybe Dieter can talk about that. So to me, Africa and to this team is a very important place. And I came 3 months ago, and I'm probably, 4 months ago or so, but I'm probably going to be here a few times a year because it's a very important place. We've actually, all of us, just come from meeting consumers. And we do that when we come here. We meet personally with them and ask them questions. And really what I'd love to hear from you guys is, what do you think we could do better? And how do you think we could engage you better also?
Can I just make a comment that you raise a very key issue, is involving the community more in the R&D process, is come and interact with the community, come and know what kind of products the people are building for their niche markets. We need more of that community interaction with the engineering team, the marketing team. This is really essential, and I'll emphasize that we need more community interaction with the teams here, especially with Nokia Research Center and Nokia Company. We need that interaction here.
If I can keep commenting about how important, why Africa is important, how Africa is important for us, how much is important for us. I think if you also look on top of what we said before, if you look about the growth opportunity, so just to be very fact-based and just to say, why it shouldn't be important for us. It's the biggest kind of growth opportunity around the world. If you look from now in 2015, it's the biggest one. It's the most interesting also in terms of social changes and trends, all this kind of Arabic Spring, all this kind of democracy kind of trends that are coming in will of course flourish more and more new idea, new trends and different trends. So of course if you combine these two things together, it goes by itself that it's becoming really important, or is really important for us. So there is no way we can deal without capturing this kind of opportunities and trends. So it's we have to do that, and also we have the pleasure of doing that because this is a fantastic place to be. Honestly, I've been here for 3 months, and I'm totally hooked into this kind of culture. So it's also fun to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Harriet. I'm a student at Strathmore University. As she suggested, she's asking what can we do better, and as a consumer, what I'd like is a cheap smartphone, because Series 40s are basically feature phones, but I think young people like me at my age, we want better, almost anything an iPhone can do, but cheaper. And in Kenya right now, there's a phone like that, but it runs on the Android. And I know Nokia is going to move to Windows. So if you could get like a phone that's, Windows, I don't think it's going to be cheap, the Windows mobile phone. So if you could get like a mid, not so expensive. So
When you say cheap, can you give us a parameter?
$100.
$100.
In other words, I think he's trying to emphasize what would be the ideal Android phone that's close to an iPhone. You have that plans for that?
Well, since I'm heading product management, all of these guys are looking at me to answer this one. I'm burning. I'm totally burning to show you our 12 and 13 roadmap and all the great things that we have. But you know that I won't. But let me just reiterate basically what Mary said, and something that we've said publicly. So I'm not revealing anything that has not been said before. So we are investing into Qt development platform as our kind of in order to make that for the mass market. And what is mass market? Certainly the kind of devices that you alluded to. That's where I'm going to leave it.
Hi, my name is John from Virtual City. I think mine is part question and part challenge. There's a lot of great innovations coming out of here in Nairobi, and there's a lot of things happening in the application space and also with the services. But part of the challenges that we are seeing happening is that a lot of good innovations or applications are coming out, but they're not going very far. They sort of get to pilot stage, and we sort of say, wow, and then the next, it sort of dies out and the next thing starts to happen. Now, my challenge to Nokia is that there are certain things that we see you're very good at. One is product packaging, and you've alluded to that in several ways. One is going to market and being able to go into the various markets. And then the other element is user experience. Now, those are three things that I think here we are suffering from. And that is part of what is maybe stopping us from getting some of the things that we are doing, from being able to project them globally and make them to be used to be the most downloaded in hobby store or whatever. So my challenge to, since we have the whole of senior Nokia here, how can you be able to bring those type of skills here into this particular market? So the ideas are here, the development skills are here, but now we talk about some of the softer issues and what can Nokia be able to do, to drive that in this market.
John, can you give us a concrete example? Can you give us an example so we can better understand your question?
So there are a lot of applications. Okay, like let me take my company for example. So at Virtual City, we're developing a lot of mobile applications. And we come up with an idea that we think is great. And we package a particular application, and we take it out to market. But the user experience is not global standards by any scope, and that's part of the problem. And then once we take that application to market, and we take it to Nairobi, and people in Nairobi start using it, and we tap ourselves on the back, but Nairobi is a very tiny market. How can we go to the rest of Africa or the rest of the emerging markets? And then the product packaging. Is it that you have this application that is first 10 times is free, and then the 11th time this happens? How do you package that whole experience? And how do you take it as a product to the market so that it's not just used by the people who know us here in Nairobi, but it is actually used by somebody in Russia.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So on that user experience thing, so Peter Skillman was here just a minute ago, who's heading up the user experience design for mobile phones. So he's actually the one who's helping us design the products and the experiences. And what we're doing in this team is actually we're having a team that is helping developers. Of course, it's something that it's hard to scale out to everyone, but we're building that capability so we can help developers not only with the technical documentation and not only with the submission process and all those things and how you get your app into the store, but also then how you should design it and what are some of the trade-offs. Like you were saying, and that's then of course the trigger that can really differentiate an app between unknown and really big downloads. So some of those things we are doing, and I think us being here and the participation that we have here and downstairs is also part of the helping cross some of those hurdles. And for us clearly, creating that vibrant community with success stories is very important, since a big part of the experience comes from you guys and other applications out there. So clearly something that we're looking into.
Just a comment on that. So this brings up like the issue of user experience research, and probably like the user experience lab. Is it like open for the developers to kind of like interact with?
So do you mean the research lab that we have here?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that the research lab here is focusing on a couple of specific things. But the idea with the design team that I was speaking about is that it should be open for developers to interact with, and you can really reach out. The challenge is, of course, that there are hundreds and thousands, tens of thousands of developers, and a few people interacting with everyone is a little burdensome. But the idea is that really is something that we can help and look at the specific problem that people have.
Yeah, I think just to underscore the commitment that Nokia is having to Africa and then to developers, I think recently we made a significant investment whereby within my team, and this is replicated in all the other local sales units, we have somebody who's called a developer outreach manager. This is really outward focusing, and this is literally 3 months ago. And this is a go-to person in our case. I think it's somebody you already know, called Annie for the developer community, because she belongs here. And I think these connections would really help us if the instances whereby you want help with the user experience of an app, that is really down Annie's alley. And she's able to help. Regarding the Nokia research, UC wanted to add something, but I think we've done the first steps of making this happen. Okay.
For 2 years, we tried to find a Kenyan user experience designer. We couldn't find one. So we brought one from Finland. And now we are initiating discussions with University of Nairobi to start training for user experience designers, UI designers. Because currently it's part of the problem with the academic that it drags behind with these necessary skills. Computer science is doing well compared to some of these very basic skills. The question about our usability lab, I would say that almost half of the time it's empty. So certainly if somebody needs it, we are open for dialogue, and we'll see how to make best use of it.
Very good.
Hi, my name is Jack and I'm a developer. I would like to know what Nokia is doing to come up with a universal operating system for all its devices, so that when someone develops an application, it's for all devices and not for S40 and S60 and
Yeah, so Dieter and I were here, who's going to take this question, because Dieter is doing something very much in that direction and bringing it to the platform. It's the web. Web is the universal platform, and that's the direction it's going. It's not there yet, and clearly, the capabilities of devices are vary between, very rudimentary or none to very capable. This is just more a question of time. When will something when will a developer be able to develop something using web technologies and then deploy across multiple platforms? I have been saying, and other people have been saying, that everything that can be developed using web technologies will be. So it's just a question of time of when does the capability of the device catch up. And what Dieter's been doing now recently is introducing what we call the S40 web apps, which allows you then to develop quite compelling applications using web technology. So that's the platform. But it always falls short on every platform of the most detailed capabilities, accessing deep functions and so forth in the device. So ultimately, if you really want to create something that's very smooth and stands out, you will at some point in time have to go into the technology of the different platforms, and those things, they'll stay different. I'd maybe add to that we as Nokia have then, of course, like been mentioned many times here, tried to make that easier and have made it easier for developers by bringing Qt to a number of platforms, which allows you still to leverage a very large base of devices on the native side. So with those two, we're making life relatively easy already.
And also a medical student here at University of Nairobi. Now, my question was, I know as a business you are directed to more getting a mass market, but I also wanted to say that here as medical students, there's a particular application known as Bedscape that we've not been able to access using your Nokia phones, and actually